Hello, you're watching Dansky, and in this video we're going to check out some of the biggest new features for Adobe Photoshop 2021, all in about 5 minutes, so let's get started. So I have my countryside image, go to Edit, down to Sky Replacement. You'll see this panel appear, give it a second to load, and then I'm going to go up here, click the drop down, and there's lots of presets we can use. You can see we have lots of different blue skies. There's many more that you'll see in a moment. And you can also add your own sky image by clicking the plus icon at the bottom of this panel. You can also adjust the shift edge to determine the strength of your sky over your image. And you can also adjust all of these other properties and see these change in real time. Photoshop then generates all of the layers used in case you would like to make further adjustments. Now this is a fun one. So I've opened up an image, go to Filter, down to Neural Filters. Let's just zoom in on the subject's face. And up here we have a couple of options that can be toggled on or off. So first we have Skin Smoothing. Style Transfer is a lot of fun as well, so you'll definitely want to check that one out. I'm not entirely sure what this is, but down here you can click this icon for a handy before and after preview. Further down we have some beta filters, so we can start with Smart Portrait. We can select different options like Gaze, and we can actually change the expression on the subject's face. You can see we're moving the eyes from right to left. This is mad stuff. And again, there's lots of sliders here that you can play around with and see those changes updated in real time. Everything can be toggled on or off, and the little blue dot at the bottom lists all of your filters, and then you can turn them off and on from here as well. Click OK when you're done. Now this is a great start, but you can see she's missing a bit of her finger. What we can do is just add a layer mask and then go and brush that back in from the original image on the layer below. Next we have a majestic lion. I'm going to add an adjustment layer with a solid color. We'll go with black so you can see the effect. I'm going to drag this underneath and select the top layer. I can then select subject from that properties panel and go to select down to select a mask. And at the top you'll notice the new refine hair button. Click that, boom, there you go. So click OK when you're done. And with the selection made, we can click the layer mask icon and we've masked out the hair on our majestic lion. Okay, so next up, we're going to create a new layer, and I'm going to select the brush tool and draw an absolutely terrible pattern. I'm sure you'll do something much better than this. Okay, so pattern created, go to View, down to Pattern Preview. Get rid of annoying yet helpful pop-up, and now you can zoom out and see your pattern repeated. And then you can design on this in real time and see how everything comes together. Or, like me here, you can just go completely bonkers. Oh look, I made a blizzard. And once you're done, you can select Pattern Preview from the menu again, and you can see your document at its actual size. Right, well first of all I'm going to go to the square tool, click and hold. We now have a triangle tool. So once we've created our triangle or our shape, we can go to the Property Inspector, and we have options for fill, stroke, stroke weight, stroke style, radius, the kind of things that you would typically find in Illustrator. And this makes working with shapes in Photoshop much easier and gives you a lot more flexibility. We also have some Pathfinder options to combine shapes together, so I could duplicate this layer, move these down, and then again, similarly to Illustrator, I can use these options to combine shapes together in different ways. I can also merge those two shapes and then still edit those properties. Okay, so if we go up to Plugins, down to Plugins panel, we can then click on Discover Plugins here, and this launches the Creative Cloud desktop app. From the marketplace, we can go to All Plugins, select the apps we're interested in, and see a list of plugins. We can click on Get, and it installs them, and then they're ready to use. And then they'll all be nicely organized in this dedicated panel here. We can also go up to Window and down to the new option Version History, and you'll be able to find different versions of your Cloud Sync documents in this panel. Lastly, we have the Discover panel up here on the right, and from here we can get some hands-on tutorials, we can jump back, we get some quick actions that you can then use in Photoshop, and you can also see what's new as well as a few other resource links. And there we go, that wraps up the video. And in this video, we're going to check out some of the biggest new features for Adobe Illustrator 2021, all in about 5 minutes. So let's get started. So you can see I've opened up a colorful and complex illustration. I'm going to go to Edit and down to Recolor Artwork. This window pops up and we can literally do just that, grab all of the different colors and recolor them however we like. There's also a few other options that you can see me playing around with here. These change in real time. And if you're not sure what some of these options are, just hover over them and you get a tooltip pop up with a brief description. And you can see I've now opened up the advanced options panel, a slightly different interface with a few more options for adjusting your colors. Let's go back to the default Recolor Artwork window. And we can go up here and we can choose from color libraries, or we can go down and we can choose how many colors we would like. So I've selected 2 and you can see I can move this around. So we're using these 2 colors and then tints of those colors. Now we can use the slider to determine the prominence of each color. So you can have a lot of fun recoloring your artwork in real time. You can also go to color.adobe.com, click the Explore tab. You'll see blue is trendy today, but we can also go up and perform our own search. I'm going to type warm, and Adobe Color will serve me up loads of different color palettes, and I can pick one, add it to a library, or download it as a JPEG. So we'll download this one, and we can then place this JPEG into our document. Whoa, that's a bit big. I'm just gonna scale this down and position this above my artwork. Well, not my artwork, Adobe Stock's artwork. So we'll go back to Recolor Artwork, and we can click on Color Theme Picker, and with the eyedropper, click on the color palette, and you can see the artwork is recolored with colors from that color palette. And if you'd like to make any adjustments, then you've got all the options in this panel ready at your disposal. Cloud documents, well, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but we'll cover it anyway. So typically you would save a local document. Now we can switch over to Save Cloud Document. We can save this to our Creative Cloud account, and this then syncs with Illustrator on the iPad. Or we can switch back to a local save and then save it to our hard drive. Another new addition is version history, so any cloud synced documents now live in this panel. Okay, so we have an icon and some text. With the text selected from the bottom of the character panel, we now have the new snap to glyph options. You can see all these here. Hovering over them gives you a tooltip, and you can simply just click to enable or disable them. And if I go ahead and move this icon up and down, you'll see it start to snap to things like the baseline, the X height, essentially all of these other aspects of design and typography. And ultimately, this just helps us align shapes with text more effectively. Okay, so we have a paragraph of text. By default, it snaps to the top. Now with area type, we can snap this to the middle, the bottom, or we can space it out throughout the entire text box. We also get a few more options here as well. Another new feature is the ability to select shapes and text. Now previously, if we align these to the top and bottom, you can see it aligns to the frame, not the actual text. Now, with these additional options here, we can align to glyph bounds, select point text for example, and when we align this to the top and the bottom, it actually aligns it with the text itself, rather than the actual frame. Useful stuff. Okay, another new text related feature. So I've got some text. I'm going to go to Type, down to Character, to bring up the expanded character panel. I can go up to the top right and select Show Font Height options. You see this extra box appears. Now by default, our font size is determined by the M box, but you can see that we can actually adjust our font size by the cap height, the X height, these other type related attributes. So as a quick example, if I set my X height to 100 points, and I'll go and create a square. I'll make this 100 by 100. And if I just zoom in here, you'll see that this square perfectly matches the 100 point X height that I set for my text. Okay, last but not least, you can see I've added a logo to a background, but there's always the risk that you move the background by mistake, right? You know what I'm talking about. So if I go up to Object, Lock and Selection, the background is now locked and I can't move this by mistake. Now if I go to Preferences up here or Edit Preferences on Windows, we now have this new option, Select and Unlock Objects on Canvas. Let's click OK. We can now select this rectangle and we get this lock icon. We can click it directly and it immediately unlocks our background. And there we go, that wraps up the video.
It's called the RotoBrush 2.0, which allows you to easily cut out the foreground from the background using very complex scenes. So if your subject is moving and the camera is moving and you don't have a green screen, this new RotoBrush 2 uses Adobe Sensei machine learning to be able to predict the movements of the foreground so you can easily cut it out and it's not very monotonous, laborious work anymore. So before we jump in to show you how the RotoBrush 2.0 works, let's give you some background on what rotoscoping is. So rotoscoping was originally developed by animators to trace over live action to actually make real animation seem more authentic to real life. So they would trace frame by frame to actually create better animations. But now rotoscoping is used in software to add visual effects and animation to live action. So rotoscoping can be used to replace or completely change the background, add text behind a subject, which is a really cool effect to do, which I'll show you briefly at the end of the video how I did that. Or you can actually add animation and trace on top of the foreground, or you can replace and mute certain colors on the foreground. And a lot of this is used in lots of cool music video effects. And with rotoscoping, you can add all sorts of visual effects to the background, or you can add groups of people and replicate it to make it look like there's a bigger crowd. So there's really so much that you can do with rotoscoping. Alright, so for this video clip, we're going to place some really cool, colorful visual background effects behind the dancers using the RotoBrush tool. First, let's double click on the footage to open it up as a new layer window, and then choose a frame where the subjects are fully in view to begin rotoscoping. Then select the RotoBrush tool, and then you can begin to just draw over the subject to select it. And the best part is, you don't have to trace the edges. Just select any part of the subject and RotoBrush will then auto-detect its outline. If RotoBrush selects part of the image that you don't want selected, just hold the Alt or the Option key and click to remove it. To add to the selection, just click and drag again. And once the subjects are selected, hit play, and RotoBrush 2 will then analyze the subject's movements from frame to frame. If you find any mistakes in the selection, you can use the RotoBrush tool and hold Alt again to remove the mistaken selection. So once the selection is good, you can go back to the composition panel. And then from the effect controls, you can refine the moving cutouts using motion blur and decontaminate edge colors. And this will make sure that the cutouts are as perfect as possible for the composition. And then you can place your visual effects or background textures behind the cutouts as layers. Be sure to duplicate the original video clip and turn off the RotoBrush effect to preserve the original background. And then you can place the effects between. I was also able to create some other really cool effects. I used the RotoBrush tool to quickly roto out this runner and add text behind her. And after I used the roto tool, what I did was I duplicated the video layer and I turned off the roto effect on the bottom layer to preserve the background. Then I created a text layer and placed the text between the two clip layers so the text would be behind the runner. And this could be a really cool technique for opening credits, and the possibilities are endless. I saw that Learn How to Edit Stuff YouTube channel showed how to place a text message behind a person on a treadmill, so there's lots of different tutorials to get inspiration from. And one quick tip, if you are sending a clip from Premiere Pro to After Effects for rotoscoping, and you want to preserve the transparency, you can just save the clip in After Effects after you rotoscope it, then go back to Premiere Pro, and from the wrench tool, you can turn off the transparency grid, and you'll see that it has a transparent background from which you can add backgrounds using just Premiere Pro.
Hello, you're watching Dansky, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can access 70,000 downloads from Adobe Stock completely free. First, start by going to stock.adobe.com. And from the search bar, click the drop down and select free. Go back to the search bar and press return. And there you go, you are now browsing free assets that you can download and use with a commercial license. Pretty cool, right? You can use this button in the top left corner to hide and show the panel, and then filter out your assets depending on what you're looking for. And you can see I've filtered by 3D, so if you are new to Adobe Dimension, then this is a great resource for some free 3D assets. And then it's as simple as clicking an asset and clicking the giant license for free button to download. And you can then sign in with your Adobe account or create a free account, click the blue button, and you're done. And there we go, there's 70,000 free assets from Adobe stock. So thanks Adobe, thank you to you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Well, that's just a very quick look at some of the things that we saw at the Adobe Max 2020 virtual sessions. Right now, this URL that you see on the screen will take you to the page that has all 350, actually more than 350 different sessions, all waiting for you to explore. There's plenty to do. You could look at one every day until the next Adobe Max and still not see them all. Thanks for watching. That's my quick look at Adobe Max.